So on one side, you have this idea of intentional quitting, the things that older adults consciously decide to stop doing.
Right, to finally get some peace, to preserve their energy.
Yeah.
We're calling that the freedom of letting go.
But then there's this other side, a very sharp warning.
A very sharp one. It's about the things you absolutely must not stop doing, because if you let them slide, well, you can invite a really rapid and often silent decline.
That's the danger of slipping away without even realizing it's happening.
So our mission today is to give you a clear map of these two paths. We're going to distill the wisdom of what to keep and what to quit.
Whether you're already past 60, maybe approaching it, or even helping a loved one navigate this chapter, this is a blueprint for living a vibrant, independent, and happy life.
We're not just talking about your finances. We are talking about auditing your emotional spending, your physical routines, even your expectations.
Because things that worked for you in your 30s or 40s, like that intense drive or caring about every single opinion, they can actually become baggage later on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start with the freedom, the immense earned freedom that comes from deliberate subtraction.
Okay, let's do it.
So the big takeaway from sources like Nick Marr is that when you pass 60, you realize your energy, your mental, your emotional, even your physical energy, it's finite.
It becomes a resource, precious one.
And you have to guard it fiercely. And that protection, it seems, starts with releasing external pressure.
And what's so fascinating here is that this isn't about apathy. It's not giving up.
No, not at all.
It is an active, positive choice, a redirection of your mental resources. It's choosing to stop caring about things that offer, zero return on your investment of energy.
And the easiest place to see this freedom in action is in how people start to relate to what other people think, especially about their appearance or their personal choices.
Oh, yeah, we saw that fantastic example in one of the sources. This person was talking about getting little comments on his appearance, small criticisms about his teeth or his clothes.
So what did he do?
He just realized he didn't have the time or the interest to care anymore. It was this simple statement of, these are my choices, I'm happy with them, and that's the end of the...
I find that so incredibly powerful. I mean, for decades, many of us, especially in our careers, we molded ourselves, right? Our clothes, our language.
Everything to fit what other people expected.
They're worried about the boss, the client, the neighbors. Why does that pressure just seem to dissipate around age 60?
I think it's a combination. It's the earned confidence of having lived a full life, but it's also combined with a very acute awareness of time. When you're younger, worrying about your appearance might feel necessary. It's part of getting ahead, socially or professionally. But once you've built your life, your career, you realize those opinions are just noise.
The stakes are gone.
The stakes are gone, and the sources are very clear. Every minute you spend worrying about a stranger's fleeting thought is a minute you've stolen from your own.
So it's a strategic decision. It's like managing a budget. You're preserving your mental capital.
Precisely. And Maher mentioned something else. He said he's still a fan of free speech. He respects other people's views, but he flat out refuses to get into heated arguments.
He called it a complete waste of my breath and a waste of my energy.
And that is such a crucial distinction, isn't it? It's not about shutting down debate.
Yeah.
It's about choosing not to engage in conflict that is emotionally draining and frankly pointless.
So if someone wants to argue about politics at a dinner party,
the best defense is a respectful, I hear your point, and then you change the subject, or you physically get up and go get a drink. The goal is to preserve your energy.
This deliberate choice to stop arguing is a massive act of setting boundaries.
It is, which leads right into the next point.
That focus on self-protection, it naturally extends from opinions to people themselves. The second major thing to quit, according to the sources, is tolerating people who just drain your energy.
Or, as one source put it very, very directly, stop putting up with people who are frankly assholes.
The language is sharp, but the realization behind it is so necessary.
It is, because throughout your working life, you are often forced to tolerate difficult people, demanding clients, tough managers, colleagues.
Because, as the source said, they paid the bills. It was means to an end.
But after 60, that necessity is often lifted, and you realize life is just too short to suffer through unnecessary antagonism.
You start to see that these toxic people are everywhere, in the grocery store, at a restaurant, sometimes even in your own circle of friends or family.
Right. And the freedom comes from actively curating your environment. So if a server is rude, you don't have to make a scene. You just make a quiet choice not to go back to that restaurant.
Okay, that's the theory, and it sounds great, but let me ask a practical question that I'm sure a lot of listeners are thinking about.
Go for it.
What if that person, that asshole, is unavoidable. What if it's a sibling or a neighbor you see every day? What did the sources say about managing those people?
That's a great question, a necessary one. And the key tactic they presented is boundary enforcement without confrontation.
So what does that look like?
If it's family, you don't necessarily cut them out, but you become ruthless about limiting the time and the depth of your interactions.
Or instant.
You meet them for coffee in a public place, a neutral setting, not in your home where you might feel trapped. And if they bring up a topic that you know is draining...
You have a pivot phrase ready?
Exactly. Something like, that's an interesting thought. Hey, did you see the game last night? It's not about avoidance. It's emotional bulletproofing. You don't let their negativity get through your defenses.
This also ties into that really beautiful anecdote about reconciliation. The story of the asshole friend who came back and reconciled after 20 years.
It does, because sometimes letting go of negativity means letting go of old grudges too.
Right.
If someone genuinely changes and apologizes, letting go of that anger is a profoundly selfish act. And I mean that in the best possible way.
Forgiveness frees you, not them.
Precisely. Now, let's talk about another form of self-protection, managing our own expectations. Many successful people are, lifelong perfectionists. They hold everyone to a very high standard.
They do not suffer fools gladly, as the saying goes.
Right. And while that drive brought them success in their younger years, the sources describe how that same mindset can become a major source of pain later in life.
Because if you set these great expectations for your grown kids, your friends, the world, you're just setting yourself up for constant disappointment when they inevitably fall short.
I want to push back on that just a little bit, because this idea of lowering your expectations, it can sometimes sound like you're just becoming cynical or accepting mediocrity.
That is the critical distinction. It's a great point.
So what's the line between healthy adjustment and unhealthy apathy?
The sources suggest the healthy way to do it is to lower your expectations externally. It's about accepting that other people are flawed. They're sometimes selfish, sometimes they lack empathy, and you choose to be shielded from that.
So it's about control.
Exactly. You maintain your high standards for your own behavior, your own health, but you stop using those standards as a measuring stick for everyone else.
So you lower the expectation of what others can deliver to you, which means you're not constantly let down or arguing with people. It all comes back to preserving your peace. That makes perfect sense.
Now let's move from managing the external social world to managing our internal structure. For decades, many of us were, these goal-setting machines.
Oh, yeah. The vision boards, the spreadsheets, the 5-year plans.
That discipline was the ladder we used to climb.
But the sources suggest that after 60, those rigid, complex systems can start to feel less like a tool and more like unnecessary baggage. The freedom comes from quitting those multi-year, hard-to-achieve goals.
The shift is huge. Instead of maintaining those complicated systems, the new focus is on simple, achievable goals. Often, just for the next year. That's it.
And the tools simplify, too. Maybe it's just a simple color-coded Google Calendar that tracks what you enjoy, not what you feel you have to.
So why does the simplification bring so much relief? Is it just that it's less work?
I think it's deeper than that. It's about giving yourself permission to pivot. Complex, multi-year goals create this psychological drag. They demand you stick to the plan, no matter how your health, your mood, or your opportunity.
When you just focus on the next 12 months, you free up so much mental space. It's like that discipline was essential for building the ship. But now that the ship is built, you can navigate by the stars and the currents, not just the preset GPS.
That's a great analogy. The time for that relentless pursuit of productivity is over. And this connects to that lovely idea of giving yourself permission not to be productive every single minute of the day.
Yes. We see that contrast to the sources between two types of friends. There's the one with ants in his pants, always busy, filling every moment.
Motorbiking, cycling, you name it.
And then there's his friend Andy, who has this carefree attitude of, if you're just not feeling it today, then why bother doing it?
And that ability to putter around or just chill out, that flexibility is the reward for decades of hard work. If you don't have a schedule to keep, why force yourself into activity that doesn't feel right?
But, and this is the vital balance the sources insist on, there's a real danger here.
Right.
If you putter around 5, 6, 7 days a week, your brain and your body start to atrophy.
So the wisdom isn't in being like Andy or the ants in his pants friend. It's about finding the space somewhere between the two.
You have to honor the need for rest, but you also have to demand some non-negotiable activity from yourself.
So this whole first section is about positive, intentional subtraction, quitting the worry, quitting the toxic people, quitting the overwhelming goals, This is the path to freedom.
Exactly. And now we have to pivot to the sharp contrast, the danger zone, the things you might passively stop doing that lead not to freedom, but to decline.
These are the silent habits that lead to feeling old and, crucially, feeling invisible.
This is the part of letting go that you have to actively resist.
Okay, so this section is about the passive, destructive choices. The ones that seem comfortable or even innocent, but that secretly steal your confidence and your connection to the world.
They're the habits that make you feel old long before your body really is.
And it often starts with a single moment. The sources describe it as the reflection shock.
Yes. It's that moment, you're rushing in the morning, you glance in the mirror, and you don't instantly recognize yourself. You see these subtle changes, heaviness around the eyes, new lines, maybe dull skin.
And it's that painful realization that, as one source put it, time has been moving faster than your heart can keep up with.
That shock is so painful because it's a signal that your self-care, the little daily routines of self-respect, have started to fade away.
And that neglect is often replaced by what the sources call the comfort thief.
I love that term. The comfort thief is choosing to wear the same loose, worn-out clothes every single day.
It's skipping the skincare or the grooming routine because you tell yourself, oh, I'm not seeing anyone today, or that's for younger people. You've just stopped caring.
But that choice, comfort over effort, it's so devastating because it sends this silent internal message.
What's that?
I no longer deserve to shine. And the world, sadly, responds to that energy. When you start treating yourself like a faded, worn-out version of yourself, other people often start treating you that way too.
And this internal withdrawal, it also changes how we communicate. The sources detail these subtle shifts in our voice and our interaction habits.
One of the first things that happens is shrinking back, becoming too quiet, choosing silence because you're afraid of being seen as a complainer or a know-it-all or just irrelevant.
So you start self-censoring. You say less and less.
But then you have the complete opposite extreme.
Which is?
Speaking much louder. Not because you're angry, but because your hearing has subtly faded and you don't realize your own volume.
And that leads to being perceived as aggressive or out of touch, which just pushes people away.
And maybe the most damaging habit of all is interrupting.
Which is rarely done with bad intentions.
No, not at all. It's often this desperate, unconscious attempt to be heard when you feel like the world is tuning you out. Let's really get into that family dinner anecdote from the sources.
Okay, paint the picture.
You're at a busy table, grown children, maybe grandkids, they're all there. You start to tell a story, something interesting from your past.
And you look up, and the kids are on their phones, the adults are exchanging quick glances, and your voice just feels like background noise. The moment is slipping away.
And that feeling of being unheard. It triggers a kind of panic. So you jump in, you speak faster, you interrupt someone else to try and reclaim that attention.
But the hard truth is that it doesn't work. It backfires.
Completely. Interrupting, even by accident, just confirms their bias that you're impatient or you can't follow the flow of the conversation. It pushes them further away.
And when all these things accumulate, the faded self-care, the hesitant voice, the interruptions, they lead to the cruelest form aging. The ghost feeling.
Invisibility.
It's a social death by 1,000 cuts. It's the waiter looking right past you to talk to the younger person at the table.
It's your great suggestion in a family discussion that gets a polite nod, but zero actual consideration. You start to feel like an observer in your own life.
And the sources are so emphatic about this. This invisibility starts internally. It begins when you pull back and tell yourself, oh, they don't want my advice anyway.
You fade emotionally first. And then the dangerous cycle starts. The world begins to treat you exactly the way you started treating yourself, like a ghost. You have to fight that surrender.
Another one of these subtle traps is what the sources call the back in my day wall.
It starts so innocently, doesn't it? Just harmless nostalgia, sharing stories.
But then it slowly morphs into constant negative comparisons. It stops being shared history, and it starts to sound like a subtle lecture.
Today's music is terrible. Today's work ethic is soft. Technology has ruined conversation.
Right, and those stories, which should be bridges connecting you to younger generations, they become walls that just shut them out. It makes you seem rigid and stuck in the past.
The key insight here is that the most youthful older people don't deny their history. They're proud of it. But they keep one foot firmly planted in the now.
They balance wisdom with curiosity. They ask questions about new technology instead of just dismissing.
And that rigidity connects directly to another silent aging habit, stubbornness and isolation.
This one feels like strength on the surface. I'm independent. I don't need anyone's help. I can do it myself.
And at first, that fierce independence might even earn some respect.
But over time, people get tired of having their offers of help rejected. They stop offering. They start to think your distance means you actually...
When in reality, it was your own self-directed walls that pushed them away.
True strength, the sources argue, is knowing when to let others stand with you, accepting help gracefully. Rejecting support doesn't make you self-sufficient, it just makes you unreachable.
And finally, under this banner of decline, there's the all-or-nothing mindset. So I can't do it perfectly, I won't bother doing it at all.
This is fear disguised as high standards.
It's skipping the gym because I'm too out of shape to start now. It's refusing to learn a new skill because it's too late to get good at it.
This mindset freezes you. It makes you seem paralyzed by a fear of failure, not by age itself. The truth is, youthfulness comes from progress, not perfection.
It comes from accepting B- effort and just enjoying the process. If you wait for the perfect time to start, you will never start.
And that failure to launch brings us to the most heartbreaking trap of all, the deception of waiting for someday.
Someday is such a powerful lie, isn't it? Because it feels like a promise.
Someday I'll take better care of myself. Someday I'll reconnect with that old friend.
Someday I'll finally take that trip.
But someday is just a mechanism that lets you feel good about the future without taking any action in the present. It gives you this false sense of unlimited time.
And the weeks turn into months, and the months turn into years. And the things you swore you'd do one day become the things you regret never doing.
And this waiting, it also affects your social life. Friends stop inviting you out because you always say, maybe next time. You've convinced them you're not interested.
The harshest truth in the sources was this: life itself doesn't age you. Waiting for the perfect time does.
So we have the emotional and social foundation now. What to actively quit for peace and what mental habits to resist to prevent decline.
Exactly. And now we have to anchor all of this in the non-negotiable foundation that makes everything else possible: physical health and movement.
Without this, that freedom we talked about in section 1, it's just impossible to enjoy.
So the first principle here is a really vital recalibration of our priorities. We think of retirement in financial terms, but the better question is not how many years do I have left?
It's how many healthy years do I have left to enjoy?
And this brings up a crucial trade-off. One of the sources asked a really provocative question. Would you rather have $20 million but feel sick and tired every single day?
Or would you rather have $1 million and feel vibrant, strong, and able to travel and move freely?
Almost everyone would choose the second option, right?
Of course. Yet in reality, so many of us live our younger lives chasing the 20 million. We sacrifice sleep, exercise, good nutrition.
Only to arrive at 60 with money in the bank, but a body that's starting to break down.
Your health is the ultimate vehicle for your freedom. If you don't have the mobility to enjoy your wealth or your free time, then those assets are basically meaningless.
The good news here, though, is that maintaining health isn't about perfection. It's not about intense sacrifice. It's about consistency and momentum.
It starts small. Choosing water over soda, a little bit of light strength training to protect your balance, just moving a little more each day. The goal is simple. Preserve your independence.
Now, one of the most important warnings that came from the health-focused sources was about leg weakness. So many people just dismiss it.
Yeah, they say, oh, it's just a normal part of getting older.
But the sources insist that this is a dangerous assumption. Weak legs are a powerful warning sign. They signal deeper, fixable problems.
And ignoring it is a direct path to dangerous falls, which are often the trigger for a rapid loss of independence. It's not normal. It's a signal that demands action.
So let's spend some real time on this. We're going to deep dive into the 5 hidden causes of leg weakness after 60, and more importantly, the simple things you can do to address each one.
Okay, let's break it down. What's the first cause?
The first and most common is muscle loss, also known as sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia is the natural age-related loss of muscle mass. It starts in your 40s, but it really accelerates after 60. If you're inactive, you could lose up to 30% of your muscle by your age.
And what are the signs someone should be looking for?
Well, you'll literally see thinner thighs and calves. You'll feel a general heaviness or stiffness, and you'll get tired much more, even after a short walk.
And what about that struggle to get up from a low chair?
That is the classic sign. If you need to use your hands to push yourself up from a chair or the toilet, that's a clear indicator of sarcopenia.
So how do we fix this without needing a complicated gym membership?
The fix is consistent, functional movement. You don't need heavy weight. Think about chair squats, just sitting and standing up repeatedly, or leg lifts while you're watching television.
And what about diet?
Crucial. Muscle needs fuel to repair and grow, so increase your protein. Lean meats, eggs, fish, beans, and aim for at least 10 to 15 minutes of walking every single day.
Okay, so that's muscle loss. What's number 2?
Number 2 is poor circulation, often due to something called peripheral artery disease.
So this is about blood flow.
Exactly. Plaque builds up in the arteries, which restricts the flow of oxygen-rich blood to your legs. Without enough blood, the muscles get weak and they cramp.
And what are the specific signs for this?
You're looking for cold, numb, or tingling feeling. The key sign is pain or cramping in your calf or thigh when you walk, a pain that gets much better as soon as you stop and
And the simple solutions.
Movement is the best medicine here, especially walking. It actually forces your body to create tiny new blood vessels. Also, stay hydrated, drink lots of water, and cut back on salt.
Okay, number 3.
Nerve damage, or peripheral neuropathy. This is damage to the nerves that carry signals from the brain to your legs and feet. It's often linked to diabetes or vitamin deficiency.
So the signs here would feel different from muscle weakness, right?
Very different. This is where you get that persistent tingling or a stabbing, burning sensation. It can feel like your feet are constantly falling asleep or like you're walking on sponges because the signals are getting scrambled.
Which sounds like a huge fall risk.
A massive fall risk. The fix depends on the cause. If it's diabetes, you have to control your blood sugar. If it's nutritional, look at your vitamin B12 levels.
B12 is crucial for nerve health.
It is, and deficiencies are common as we age. So more dairy, eggs, leafy greens, and it's also important to minimize alcohol, which can accelerate nerve damage.
Okay, that's 3. What's number 4?
Number 4 originates in the back, spinal problem. Things like sciatica or a herniated disc. A lot of people focus on their leg muscles when the real problem is a pinched nerve in their lower back.
So the pain would be radiating that.
Exactly. It often shoots from the lower back or your buttocks down one or both legs. You might feel a sudden weakness, numbness in your foot, or a scary sensation that your leg is about to give out.
What are the simple actions to help with it?
The main enemy here is sitting for too long because it compresses the spine. So get up and move every 30 minutes. Use a lumbar support cushion and do gentle stretches like bringing one knee to your chest while you're lying down to help decompress those nerves.
And finally, number 5.
Number 5 is electrolyte imbalance. This is the cause of that sudden, agonizing leg cramp that wakes you up in the...
So this is the body crying out for essential minerals.
Yes, specifically potassium and magnesium. They are vital for muscle function. Low potassium can cause those spasms, while a lack of magnesium can lead to fatigue and twitching.
And the fix here is focused on diet and fluids.
It is. Hydration is number 1. Then for potassium, think bananas, spinach, avocados. For magnesium, almonds, dark chocolate, whole grains. And a great simple remedy is a warm Epsom salt bath before bed. The magnesium absorbs through your skin and helps relax the muscles.
This detailed look at leg weakness really changes the conversation around aging. It shows that so much of this decline isn't inevitable. It's often a fixable problem that's just waiting for our attention.
Exactly. And you cannot fully enjoy the emotional freedom from Section 1 if you don't have the physical capacity we just talked about.
You can't embrace a flexible schedule if you're frail. You can't travel if you can't walk. So let's bring these two ideas together. How do you use that newfound freedom and that physical capacity to really maximize meaning in your life?
Well, what's so fascinating is how it all synthesizes. The ultimate shift in currency after 60 is moving from trading your time for money to trading your remaining time for meaning.
For 30 or 40 years, the main exchange rate was your hours for a paycheck. Now, you've earned the right to change that.
And the sources are really clear on this. If your work still brings you joy, structure, a meaningful connection, then by all means, continue with it.
If your work is just draining you, or if you're only doing it out of fear of what happens when you stop, it is time to deploy that intentional twitting we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
It's time to let go.
This requires you to define what meaning actually looks like for you now. For some, it might be volunteering. For others, it might be finally learning that language or that instrument.
And for others, it's just connection. Spending deep, focused time with family and friends without being distracted.
There was that powerful story about the high school teacher who taught until he was 67. He loved his job. But one morning he just woke up, the joy had faded a little, and he just knew it was time.
And he walked away that day, not with anxiety, but with profound peace.
That peace comes from realizing that while you could always maybe earn more money, that time, once you spend it, you can never buy it back.
Part of prioritizing meaning is also about aggressively protecting your mental landscape from noise and negativity. The sources warn specifically about the doom and gloom trap.
This is the 24/7 news cycle. It's designed to keep your attention through fear and anxiety, not just to inform you.
And if you spend hours every day immersed in that conflict and negativity, that stress is physiological. It literally wears on your body and it steals your peace.
Your attention is your most valuable resource now. The goal is to stay informed enough to be a responsible citizen, but not at the cost of your mental health.
You get to choose your focus. You can choose to focus on what's still good and beautiful and within your control, rather than all the vast problems you can't personally.
This choice connects right back to releasing external pressure. And it leads us to the ultimate wisdom cited in the sources, the #1 regret of the dying.
I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me.
And that regret is the summation of everything we've talked about. When you're constantly worried about other people's opinions, you're listening to the noise instead of your own inner voice. You become invisible to your own life.
Which brings us to the final, necessary liberation. Letting go of the illusion that you have unlimited time. That someday lie has to be actively dismantled.
We all understand mortality in theory, but we still put off the most important things. We wait for the right time, the right amount of money, the perfect energy level.
But you just never know how much time you truly have. And that awareness shouldn't be a source of panic. It should be a catalyst for joy, an invitation to live more fully today.
This is where we come back to that powerful question. If you knew for sure that this was your last year on Earth, what would you do differently starting tomorrow?
The answers are always so immediate, aren't they? They'd forgive someone. They'd start that journal. They'd book that trip. They'd just make sure to say, I love you, before the moment passed.
And the profound takeaway here is this. You do not need a terrifying diagnosis or a major crisis to wake up.
You have today. You are breathing. And that alone is enough reason to stop waiting and to start truly living with respect for this one wild, irreplaceable life. You have earned the right to live lightly and intentionally.
The key takeaway really is that you have to be an active agent in your own story. You have to actively let go of worry, actively maintain your health, and actively refuse to fall into those traps of invisibility and waiting for someday.
The goal isn't just a longer life. It's a life with more meaning, less regret, and preserved physical freedom. It's realizing that subtraction, letting things go, is just as important as addition.
I think when you strip away the baggage of other people's expectations and that habit of chronic waiting, what's left is just the simple, valuable time you have to create meaning.
So what does this all mean for your listener? You've heard the specific fixable signs of physical decline, and you've heard the wisdom of quitting destructive mental habits. Now ask yourself this. What habit, either internal, like constant worry, or physical, like stillness, is the single biggest thief of your energy and joy right now? What one small, specific thing will you quit today to reclaim your peace? Start there.